Both the immediate predecessors at the Fed, Chairman Yellen and Chairman Bernanke, repeatedly testified before congressional committees about their concern about and the impact of the rising debt, national debt, on the economy. Here's what Chairman Bernanke told the Joint Economic Committee in June of 2012. He said, large deficits and debt over a long period of time raise interest rates above levels where they normally would be and crowd out private investment and are bad for growth and productivity. They also may involve borrowing from foreign lenders, which is also a drain on current U.S. income, unquote. Do you agree with Chairman Bernanke's statement?
Yes, I do.
And here's what Chairman Yellen said this year on July 12th before the House Committee on Financial Services, expressing her concerns about rising debt. She said current spending and taxation decisions will lead to an unsustainable debt situation with rising interest rates and declining investment in the United States that will further harm productivity, growth, and living standards, unquote. Do you agree with that statement?
I do.
All right. Now, obviously, if we increase the national debt, we're going to make those problems even worse. In other words, the long-term debt impact harming economic growth. Isn't that the case?
Yes, I think the idea would be to get GDP growing faster than the debt over a long, long period of time.
Do you have any reason to doubt the Congressional Budget Office's analysis of the debt increase that would result from the bill that's been proposed here in the Senate by Republican senators?
To tell you the truth, Senator, I haven't looked at that. It's not something that we're responsible for.
No. So you have no reason to doubt those numbers, do you?
I have no reason to know those numbers, let alone doubt them.
Do you have a concern about what the debt impact of actions the Senate and the House take, whether on the tax side or the spending side, with respect to the economy?
So it's a bit of a fine line that we have to walk on this, and I'm hoping I can walk it. And that is, clearly the debt needs to be on a sustainable path. We all know that. I think we all agree on that. On the other hand, it's not for us to be taking part in the discussion that you and your other elected colleagues are having over this. That's not our role. And, there are agencies who have that role. It's really not for us.
Okay. Well, both your immediate predecessors commented repeatedly about their concern over the impact of rising national debts. And you just indicated that you shared their concern and agreed with their earlier statements. So putting aside whether or not you think the CBO analysis of $1.5 trillion addition to the debt is correct or not, if there was another $1.5 trillion addition to the debt, it would make a bad situation worse, would it not?
It would, all else equal.
Yeah. And as Chairman Bernanke said, a number of years ago, he said, and I quote, "So at some point, Congress is going to have to make a trade-off between what its spending programs are and what taxes it's willing to," he said at that time, raise. We are now talking about reducing the amount of revenue coming into the federal treasury, but the basic math remains the same, doesn't it?
It does.
Right. So if we want to avoid making the debt even worse, and you're going to add $1.5 trillion to debt, the only way to deal with that is to then cut things like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Isn't that the case?
There are a lot of moving pieces in it. As I mentioned earlier, what the country really needs is to have debt growing faster than GDP. What matters is our debt to GDP ratio. That's what makes us on an unsustainable path. So growth also enters into the equation.
That's right. And the Congressional Budget Office, they have their own projections, as you do, as was indicated earlier, of what the projected growth path would be. There are things that we may or may not be able to do to improve that. But there's no analysis out there, no credible analysis, that suggests that when you have a massive tax cut primarily going to major corporations, that the result is actually going to be a growth that actually makes up for the lost revenue in terms of debt. Do you know of any credible analysis that shows that?
Senator, I honestly, I'm I've not been following the analysis.
Do you know of any credible analysis that indicates that this tax cut would, quote, pay for itself?
I am not an expert on what analysis is out there about this tax bill, this proposal, this set of proposals.
All right. Well, I would urge you to follow the tradition of your predecessors, who were very careful not to wade into the specifics of fiscal decisions made by Congress, but did express this concern about rising debts. And I thank you for your testimony. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Perdue.